life threw me hundreds and hundreds of lessons the hard way. And it sounds like I'm being a bit over the top or exaggerating, but I don't feel like it is. I think back in the day, I had a very angry father. And it's hard to talk about my parents because we've got a great relationship, now. But back when you're a child and you see your dad's like really angry at other people, not in an abusive way, I got that out there now, but it's terrifying to a child. And I became a massive introvert. You'd never find me doing anything like this, speaking on a stage. Massive introvert, full of anxiety. I developed anorexia in my teens. I wouldn't say boo to a goose. I was bullied heavily through school. The whole shebang.
That's an awful lot of trauma.
It is. And I look back now thinking, grateful, because I had to go through it to discover what I know now. And I feel like I know a good amount of knowledge now. One, through the studying that I've done, because I've always been a bit of a nerd, like in terms of like studying and learning and...
A course junkie.
No. Well, yeah, yes and no. I wanted to avoid that. I did my qualifications and then I just studied myself. Because
brilliant. It's
never ending cycle, isn't it? Knowledge is never ending. And I knew that no one was going to come and save me. I had the most horrendous relationships with partners, cycle after cycle after cycle after cycle. The same cycles. Narcissistic abuse was heavily predominant. That I faced. And it was so easy to blame the other person. And it got to like 10, 15 years ago and I thought, right, what's the common denominator here? And I've done so much soul searching in my life. It's mind-blowing to me. And I thought, right, why is it that I'm being cheated on and they were being unfaithful to me, but it was the same pattern over and over and over again. It can't be them because not everyone can be doing the same thing, so it's got to be me. So that led me down the whole rabbit hole of nice guy syndrome, self-worth issues, how we treat ourselves, how we value ourselves, our boundaries, which again, because I had to learn about them, I now can not so much teach other people, because in healing and change work, I believe that everything is within us already. Everything's inside of us, and I don't heal anybody. That's the first thing I'll tell anybody who comes to see me, or don't do so much healing work nowadays. But when I first started, that was my trauma and healing. The first thing I'll say, I don't do any healing. This isn't some magical process. This is, and that's not against anybody who does, healing, but I'm of a certain mind frame. I open up the door, open up their vision through placebo, through hypnosis, to what is actually possible in their life. And as their perception changes about who they are as a person, who they can be as a person, their body starts to change, the mindset starts to change, and then the actions that they take start to change. I've gone off on a bit of a tangent there, but I hope that makes sense.
No, it does. And I think it's very relevant to your story. To me, it didn't sound too tangential.
Yes.
If that's even the right way to say the word.
Yeah.
And I just want to chip in there that when I came to you seeking help, not long after my brother had passed, you were wonderful.
Thank
and
you.
You may not feel that you healed me, but it's the person's perception, the receiver's perception, isn't it?
Absolutely, 100%.
And yeah, you certainly helped me on my journey.
Amazing.
And it's a multifaceted journey for everybody in their life, isn't it? We've all come with different baggage and experiences, whatever term you want to use, that makes us who we are sitting here right now.
Yeah.
Nobody's experience is irrelevant.
No.
It's all relevant.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. And I guess, I know, I just triggered a thought there when you said about what were your triggers through life. And there were a couple of other triggers, but obviously I've talked about the main ones. But like, I've discovered the power of suggestion like in my teens, and the power of how trauma holds in the body. And one example that just sprang to mind is I was, like I said, bullied really badly at school. And one day I took a massive beating, and it is what it is, kind of thing, But I thought my face was literally rearranged. And back in the day, you got home and my dad was like, oh, you'll be right. In the morning, everything will be fine. So there was no hospital or anything like that back then. And my face had just changed shape completely. And I was convinced I'd got internal damage because my face was out here. And I got like eye socket pain there. And then 20 years later, whenever I became frightened, stressed, anxious, I got a pain here. And this was before I knew anything about this work. And then as I started to research and learn, I'm thinking, where's this pain coming from? Why does it always come when I'm stressed, frightened, anxious? And I sat with myself and meditated, I did some self-hypnosis, and it took me straight back to that moment because I never actually resolved with myself what happened. And as I was changing it internally, I felt the pain. Honestly, it's mind-blowing.
I'm going to say that's really quite something.
Yeah, I felt the pain draining from my face. I'm thinking, I need to do more of this stuff. The body holds a score. The body keeps a score. Bessel van der Kolk, I think it is a game changer in trauma. And I'd heard of the work before I read his book anyway, about how we now believe that trauma holds in the body. But I've had so many experiences of it with clients and myself, physically seeing the changes in people.